welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for
We
having me.
podcasted before, though, on the Mike Force
Yeah,
podcast,
like
right? Oh,
three,
let's turn your
four,
mic. Yeah, just to angle it. Yeah, there you go.
probably like what, 4 years ago, probably
Yeah,
at
I
least.
honestly don't remember. If you told me last week or 10 years ago, I'd believe both of those because I don't remember. It's like a big blur.
Yeah, I guess it'd be
Where
after
were you at? Where were you at when you podcasted with me?
Fieldcraft Heber upstairs.
Okay, so it had to been over 4 years ago because that's when we had the HQ there.
Yeah.
Dude, wild. So if you guys are just tuning in and like, who is this dude? Ben is an endurance athlete and, a top rated dude in the field of endurance across the country, maybe the world. And I aspire to kind of do what you guys are doing. You, Mike Knight,
McKnight, yeah.
McKnight, Mike McKnight, and also like Goggins is in you guys' circle because you guys do not, you don't just do marathons. You don't just do 5Ks. You guys do ultra marathons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that because it's changed. Obviously, now we're talking about 3, 4, 500-mile races.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously ultra marathon is considered any distance above an average or your average marathon 26.2. So anything above that, they consider an ultra marathon. Your standard distances 50K, 50 mile, 100K, 100 mile. And in the last 10 years, a big momentum has come involved with 200 milers and plus. More and more are launching every year. The people are just learning that there's really no limit to what we can do. And so if a race director can put together a route of some sort and get the right permitting, there's a handful of crazy enough people out there that want to see what they can they can do themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you're pushing yourself to the limitations of your capabilities. But like you said, I mean, everybody thought 10 years ago a 50 miler was like insane. A 100 miler was insane. Now it's 300 miles. One interesting thing that you pointed out to me was, you're a muscular guy.
Yeah.
You're not just you don't look like a runner. When I see you in the gym, I mean, you're lifting. You're like lifting heavy weights. When we've worked out together, we both lifted weights. Cam Hanes is a good example of that. Why has that become the thing? Because I always think about ultra marathon runners as people who are skinny dudes that do running, but it's not the case.
Well, and just give everybody like a little bit of backstory, just real fast. Is I mean, it's not that I started to lift and then and to help with my running. Is I was a lifter and found running. Used running to help reduce body weight and then started to run shorter distances and ended up becoming friends with other ultra marathoners and sat there and just dwelled. I wonder if I could do this. This is crazy. This, like, in my mind, it was insane as well. Um, and I progressed really fast. I had paced a friend that was doing one of the very first 200 milers, the Tahoe 200 back in 2014.
What does that mean, pace to friend like you?
Paced, like, so pacing is during an ultra running event after a certain distance. A runner can pick up what they call a pacer, basically someone to support you, as in just a safety. There's no, they can't mule for you, they can't carry your supplies and all that stuff. But what they do is they're just running with you for safety. When you start going into a multi-day event with very low sleep, sleep deprivation can really take a toll on your mental, uh, cognitive function. You can easily get lost. You could easily go into a delirious state. And now we're looking at safety issues. So if it's not mandatory, but in most cases, runners have the opportunity to pick up a pacer to run with them.
Mm.
And so on the Tahoe 200, you had to run the first 60, about 100K, 65 miles alone. And eventually, then you can pick up a pacer taking you into like the first night and beyond. During the 2014 Tahoe 200, I paced a friend 93 miles. Before this, I'd only gone like 30 miles. And so I went 3 times as far, blew what I thought was possible for myself out of the water. And the very next year, signed up for my first 200-mile race, the Tahoe 200, 2015, and ran that. And then it's been snowballing ever since on longer and longer distances, different places around the world, just seeing what I'm capable of. And so one thing that I really noticed really fast out of the gate is I didn't find myself in the back of the pack. I found myself actually in the front of the pack or up with the front of the pack. And from a physical, like a longevity stand, I mean, like a veteran I was new to the industry, to this distance. I didn't like the question I asked myself, why am I up here? Like, why am I finishing in the top 20 or the top 10? And I'm not this ultra, like ultimate endure. Like in my mind, I was new. I didn't know what, like, I was still trying to figure out what I was doing, but why was it up here? And what I come to figure out was as the body fatigues over time, muscle endurance plays a huge part. Okay. And so, from a hiking standpoint, from a running standpoint, when the body goes into a level of fatigue, that muscle endurance can still kind of carry you. And so when you get and then plus it's almost like a ruck, a mini ruck, I'd say. Your pack is in that probably like that 10 to 12 pound range when it's fully loaded with cold weather gear, with nutrition, 3 to maybe even up to 4 liters of water, depending on if it's day or night and how far the distance between your next refill station is. And you got to self-support yourself for those, could be up to a marathon, could be as short as 10 miles. So that plays a significant role on the body, like your legs, when you're going on a 4,000-foot climb up over a mountaintop, coming down the other side, and this really, step up, step down, side to side, stepping over logs, climbing over trees. I mean, this ain't roads. I mean,
There's always
there's
elevation, inclines,
elevation,
declines.
there's rerouting, there's rough terrain, there's off trail, there's bushwhacking, there's scrambling sometimes with your hands up the mountainside. And so you start to pull all these physical elements in. Muscle endurance plays a huge part of it. And I didn't have like a big top end gear, but I had a good, like, I had a lot of torque. If you want to, talk about cars and stuff like that, I had a lot of torque. I was kind of like this. I could haul a good amount of weight at a good speed. I could keep a good clip with that weight. And as people started to fatigue out and really hit a wall in a way, I just kept going, and so the second half of the race became my race, and that's where I found that I excelled. And then over these last 10 years, I've helped perfect my training to I could really look at a course or a route and understand where are the strong points, what's going to make a athlete excel in this particular event based on the elevation and the terrain, and then gear my training towards that. So if it's flatter, we're going to run more. We're going to be using different muscle groups. If it's a lot more a lot more downhill, more quads, uphill, more glutes, hamstrings, more hiking. Why increase your top end run speed when 70% of the run is going to be at a hike? So start increasing your hiking speed. like increase that pace, it's going to increase your overall pace more so than just your running pace, if only, 30% of the run is actual running.
Mm. Do you run into an issue being a heavier guy with fueling your body, or do you have obviously you have a protocol for fueling your body, but it seems like the more muscular you are, the more your requirement of fuel, especially, and it's almost like you're obviously running in a deficit, but how do you continue to fuel yourself for so long when you got so much muscle?
So that's a really good question, because muscle does require, I mean, even if you're not using it, like, if you have a bigger upper body but you're using all your lower body, your upper body still needs fuel. So your intake needs to increase. However, about back in 2020, or 2019, I changed my diet. And this is I don't want to overcomplicate it, but if people are out there that understand keto or understand low carb, I'm not necessarily keto. Don't think that all we're eating is protein and fat. I eat carbs just like everybody else, but I take in a low carb, we call it OFM. I take in a lower carb on a regular basis, closer to between 100 grams to 200 grams of carbs per day. I strategize it around my workouts, and the rest of the day I'm low carb, high fat, so that I optimize my fat burning. What this does, and not everybody has to do this, but what it does for me is you don't crash. So if anybody that's like familiar with, like, if you're not getting in X amount of carbs per hour, like even not even a physical day, you stop eating and you get to about 2 in the afternoon and you're starting to get low blood sugar, hypoglycemic feeling, can't concentrate, shakes, like I got to eat, and you're freaking out. It's because your body is so dependent on carbs. My body has switched over to more fat burning. So we all have fat storages way greater than anything you ever need. And so when you're primarily using fat for fuel and you don't get an intake of calories, it can burn your own fat for fuel. So you don't get those shakes or you don't crash. Now, during an event, I do fuel with carbs. You're always going in a deficit. You need carbs. I just don't need as much carbs. And if I hit a point where I'm not taking in a lot of calories, maybe I run out, maybe my stomach gets upset and I don't have an appetite, I kind of lose my fifth gear in a way, but I don't crash to the point where I'm like immobile and I got to like lay on the ground and like I'm just, wasting away. I could actually still move at a good rate of speed until I can actually get carbs in, food in, calories in. So we're always going into a calorie deficit. I always say I try to fuel about 300 calories per hour. I burn about 6 to 650 per hour. So I'm going into a 300 calorie deficit. And then when I pull into an aid station or a checkpoint that has food for us to refuel, I try to take in a good 600 calories to offset the deficit I'm going into, but you're always going into a deficit. So if you're really good at burning fat for fuel, your own body fat, then you're never going to really crash. And that actually has a huge impact in performance. And I don't know from a military operation, but if you're like in a place where you can't get food and you're not taking in calories, I mean, being able to utilize your fat is going to be a huge benefit than going into like a hypoglycemic. Even concentrating and like focusing is hard to do when you're in that hypoglycemic like state of low calorie, low carb deficit.
Are you in ketosis a lot of the day because you're an auxiliary, or because you're 100 grams, it keeps you out of ketosis, but you're just more adaptable when because your body knows how to operate and tie into fat stores.
Yeah, I don't check like I used to. Like when if I have a say if I have a client that wants to go into an OFM scenario,
What's OFM?
optimized fat metabolism.
Hmm.
That's what we kind of call it. The first
What if you're just
protocol.
fat? I'm
It
optimized
doesn't matter
fat. OF.
how skinny you are or how fat you are. It's all the same for the same person. And the skinniest person that you ever see has plenty of fat storage.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Because they have fat around their organs,
Oh
fat in
yeah.
their body. Yeah.
And fat itself, like you think about how much dense calories fat is. I mean,
Slow burn.
oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. But I was a client that's gonna go into the scenario, the first 6 weeks is straight keto. Like no more than 50 carbs. Like that's not even like 50 total carbs. Like none of this fiber stuff, offset and sugar, alcohols, none of that junk. It's 50 carbs max, 6 weeks. You're going to feel like crap. You're not going to have any energy and stuff like that. As the body makes the switch over to a fat metabolism and like a ketosis state, then those ketones will come in. You'll start to feel that more energy. And then we start to increase after that 6 weeks. And then for the next 6 weeks, we'll go up from 50 to like 75. It doesn't sound like a lot, and it isn't, but just enough. And then we'll take those 25 and put it like maybe right before their workout to give them like a boost.
Like jet fuel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it feels like jet fuel. You know,
Yeah.
like 25 carbs, you think that's nothing for an average person, but for somebody in ketosis, that's like nitrous oxide.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after that 6 weeks, we call it phase 3, and you'll go up to 100 carbs. And that point, we try to build all those 100 carbs around pre, during, and post workout. And then the rest of the day, low carb. So back to your, like, I'm not 100% sure how often I am in ketosis. I'll do a 3 weeks, and then like when I have a recovery week for my running and my workouts to let my body heal and recover, I go into more of a strict keto for that week, eat cleaner, stricter on the keto side to build up my ketones again, and then I go back in when I go into my build. I do like a 3 week build, increasing my my running. I'll then increase my carbs. On a day I don't run, low carb. On a day I run a lot, more carbs. So it's a sliding scale based on my activity. But that's how I overcome that. And that's not like, that's just a tool that I use. It works really well, but it's not something that, oh, if I'm going to get into 200-mile races, I have to do. Because I would say 90% of people aren't low carb. It's still a kind of a newer thing. It's an idea. It's like probably in the last like 10 years, it's getting more and more traction. More and more athletes are kind of making the move, but it's not for everybody's makeup. There's people out there that don't operate really well on low carb. And some do, some don't. So you kind of have to figure out what works for you.
So you say clients, is that I mean, you do this for a living, meaning you train people. I assume that's what you meant when you mean clients. And then you use that as a training protocol to also help yourself do the races. Like you're an endurance athlete. You do that for a living. Are you supporting and training people up for these ultra marathons?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. So my forte, like you talked about, maybe a little bit more muscular person and stuff. My forte within the industry, most of my clients that come to me are individuals that love the gym. They're like CrossFit, or they've just had years of working out, putting on the muscle,
Mm-hmm.
and now they have this new goal of running, whether it's a 50 miler or a 100 miler. You know, they read David Goggins' book and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to go off and do the Moab 240 or whatever. They get inspired to do something big like that, but they don't want to look like a runner, you know, because when they say run your butt off, it's literally you
Your butt
will
will leave you.
cannibalize yourself.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, your body will adjust to its environment. So whatever primarily you're doing, if you're primarily running is your total, like your higher volume for the week, your body's going to become more efficient running, and it's going to lose fat and muscle, strength and everything. So what I specialize in is, how do you marry the two together? How do you optimize the endurance performance on running without losing all the strength in the gym and the muscle that you've put on? And it's a balance. And over these last 10 years, I've refined and refined and refined it. I've started coaching a little over 4 years ago, and the majority of my clients are those athletes that are looking to put on the muscle or keep on the muscle, do the event. I'm getting a lot of runners that now are like, I'm tired of being injured. I'm wasting away. They're starting to have a lot of issues because they're not strength training within their running. And you just you cannibalize yourself over the years. And before you know it, you're starting to run into issues, especially in an older age. Once you hit in your 40s and above, like running and running and running, you need to offset it with some strength training, from a bone density standpoint, your ligaments, tendons, muscular. Give yourself a little bit of a running break. You can still do volume and still optimize your endurance, but not pounding the pavement or pounding the trail all the time. You can do it in the gym. You can do it with speed intervals. You can do it with lift intervals. High rocks like training is actually an awesome thing from a VO2 max standpoint, with a little bit of strength training intermixed. That's a great, those type of workouts and stuff like that. So that's what I specialize in. So half of my clients are probably ultra runners. And then, after doing your podcast about 4 or 5 years ago, I've taken on more and more. It's snowballed in the military clients. I get a lot of people out of Camp Williams here in Utah. I believe they have a special forces division for the
Yeah.
National Guard.
19th group, yeah. The
Yep.
headquarters is there.
And my name gets passed around. Some of the newer recruits that are looking to get in to go to selections and get ready for selections, and they get my name, and then they come to me, and I build them a customized program to help them get ready for the selections test. And so in the last 2 years, I mean, I've gotten dozens, yeah, actually.
Yeah, you have to be balanced. We used to call it like obstacle course fitness, right? Where if you do an obstacle course in the military, you need endurance because most of them are more than a mile.
Yep.
With multiple obstacles. We're talking 10, 20, 30, 40 obstacles. But you also need the muscular strength to navigate the obstacles. So if you can't pull or push your body weight, but you have the endurance to run a marathon, well, it's not a good balance. So it's like obstacle course balance. Same with rucking. I was a phenomenal rucker. I mean, I could ruck 12 miles with 35 pounds dry in 2 hours, and I could do 18 miles with, I believe, 45 pounds dry. It might be 35 pounds. I can't remember. In 3 hours. And so when you look at that, what does that mean? You're running most of the time with a 35 plus pound ruck. So I used to consider myself an endurance athlete, but I was also at the time 225 pounds. So there's a balance of these guys who want to become operators, functionally fit. Well, yeah, you have some guys that are just really good runners, and you have some guys who are just jacked in the gym. You need to be the utility of both.
Yep.
You need to be able to run your 200-pound frame or a large muscular frame, climb over obstacles, push and pull your body weight. I mean, at peak, I was doing 25 to 30 pull-ups, but also could run with a ruck. Now, my run times weren't great, but I was outpacing on rucks and pull-ups and physical strength most of the runners. And like you said, that you want to be a multi-tool.
Yep.
You don't want to be a jack of one trade. You want to be a jack of all trades. And I think that's the best protocol. And it's odd to me because it just goes against what you're naturally seeing to see a guy like you, guy like Goggins, run and accomplish, you know, top 10 finishes being so big. And so I didn't even realize that that's your specialty. I hit you up because my back is feeling better. And I said, there's only one man I think I've ever met, maybe Bert Soren, hanging out with Bert and doing personal strength and conditioning with Bert Soren, who owns Sorenex or runs Sorenex. His dad started it. You and him are the only ones I trust because it's what you do. Um, what are we doing?
Well,
What do you think?
gonna.
I'm broke. I'm 45, but I feel like I'm getting on the. I'm climbing out of the hole.
Yeah. So one of the first things I tell my clients, and I just tell you as a friend, is like, trust the process, leave your ego at the door. Like, seriously, leave your ego at the door. I mean, you know what you're capable of and what you've done in the past, and we can get there. And muscle has memory. You can get back there easy. But what happens a lot of the times at our age with someone that used to felt kind of got off the wagon a little bit and now is like, look, I got to take control. I got to get back at this. I need get back into shape for not only just for myself, but for my family, for a lot of various reasons. I mean, being self-reliant and preparedness. I mean, you got to be prepared physically, if something happens. Like, so leave the ego at the door and we start with fundamentals. And the fundamentals it's a little bit humbling, but it's not going to last that long. It's just we're going to be working on mobility and flexibility with strength. We're always going to still do strength. It's just going to look differently. I think old school mentality. Yeah, get in, do some deadlifts, some squats, some leg press, like old school. What you see Arnold on the, inside the gym and doing heavy like reps and stuff like that. It's more functional fitness. Functional fitness that's going to give you stability. It's going to keep you less likely to get injured doing the power lifts. We're going to be learning balance. Just waking up the muscles. I bet you don't even know that you probably have 15 different muscles completely shut down, not even being utilized.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't,
Maybe more than that.
to get into the car, to get out of the car, to get at the desk, to get out of the desk, to walk, to, like you don't have to use a lot, but there's a lot of stabilizers and balancing us when you were actively, uh, physical active in active duty and moving and doing all this stuff. They're just always being utilized. So they're always awake and everything like that. And if you ever seen somebody like just get out of their car and walk into the store and they're like walking funny and their things aren't firing, like, and they're actually utilizing other muscles to compensate. So I would say the first 4 weeks is regaining traction, waking up the muscles. You're going to be sore. It's going to suck. I mean, I actually love being sore.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. I just eat it up, but not many people do. And especially you're going to be more sore than you probably ever remember, kind of a thing. But it's just waking up the muscles, reactivating them. And it's not going to last long. It's not going to take long to start ramping it up and ramping it up. So we're gonna start with the basics. We're gonna start to activate and you've done one of my workouts with me. We do a full body workout. Anytime we work out, we do all the muscle groups, but we have an emphasis on one particular muscle group. So one day we might have like a chest power day. But we're still going to be doing some shoulders. We're still going to do legs. We're still going to do back. We're still, push, pull, legs, core. We're going to be doing all, and we're going to do some hit stuff where we're going to get our heart rate up, do some arms and stuff like that. We're going to do everything, but the emphasis is going to be on that chest. So we have we have power, endurance, and stability. And then we break that up by doing a primary of like chest, shoulders, back, lats, and legs, whether it's quad, hamstrings. So every day is going to have a primary, and then everything else a secondary and a tertiary and core. And so that's where that balanced, when you were talking about like an athlete that is a little bit of good at everything, we're going to do a little bit of everything, you know? And we're just going to, and your body is going to transform into its environment. We're also going to start bringing back in cardio. I'm not going to make you go out and run right out of the gate. We're going to do some hikes. We're going to do some stair machine. We're going to be doing like the ski eager and the row machine and the assault bike to get our heart rate up. It's going to make you feel good. It doesn't feel good at the moment, but you're going to get those serotonin, those dopamine hits, get the body used to elevated heart rate and recovery heart rate. Elevated heart rate, recovery heart rate. That's going to spark the metabolism. That's going to ignite the growth hormones, the testosterone boost. Once those chemicals in the body start producing more and more and more, because this is our environment, we got to like level up here. We got to produce for that. Then the muscle, the fat's going to melt off. The muscle's going to build. You're going to start to get back what you used to have, you know.
Are we going to set a race?
So this is what I have. So you talked about Mike McKnight. So me and Mike McKnight, we have launched
I'll link this guy. I'll link their stuff down below as well, guys.
Yeah, we launched a company called Great Western Adventures,
mm-hmm.
and it's new. We're going to be pulling in. He's a coach as well. I'm a coach. We're going to be combining our coaching here eventually, and then we're going to be doing retreats. We're going to be launching events, and then we also do crew for hire. Something I've been doing the last 2-3 years. We're going to bring that
Where you
all
go and
into
support a runner.
yeah, like people hire me. Like tomorrow, I leave for Nebraska. A 22-year-old female college student has hired me to come help support her at the Cowboy 200 in Nebraska.
Wow.
And so she's going to run her first 200 miler. I helped her with a 100 miler last year from a coaching standpoint, and she was able to do it. But this time is a little bit of a bigger project, 200 miles, overwhelming. So I'm actually going to go out and support her and run with her as well at certain sections, pacer, and stuff like that. And then I'll be at the Moab 240 in 2 weeks. So this is something I do run on a regular basis. I probably had like 8 different events this year.
Wow.
That I've supported runners at. And we're combining all that into what is Great Western Adventures. One of the first races that we're looking to launch. Now, obviously, it depends on Forest Service approval, but I've already submitted the route a year ago, and the route got approved. It's just they're looking for the date and all the everything to fit. So we called it the Shingle Mill 60K Challenge. And there's going to be shorter distances, but I'm here to push you to be prepared for the 60-day challenge, or 60K. So that's roughly like 36 miles. Nothing crazy, but on a distance wise, but this route is epic. It's about 16,000 feet of vert. It's hard to reference that, I would have to say. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, I can reference it with our local mountains. So Temp, you're familiar with, it's a high peak that just like we stare at it out your garage door here.
Mm-hmm.
It's an epic peak. It looks like we live in the Swiss Alps right here. Well, from the base to the top, I mean, from, let's just say Provo or Orem level to the summit is roughly like just over 6,000 feet. So this is almost like 3 of those.
Where's this at?
This is just next door, right in back of Provo Peak area. So
wow.
Rock Canyon, Provo Peak.
It's a lot of ups and downs.
It's a lot. And we actually hit four different summits. You tagged 4 different summits. One of them is over 3,000 feet in 1 mile. It's pretty much straight up.
Wow.
Okay. Here's the thing. So we're going to launch it as an ultra marathon, but we want to introduce another category as a ruck.
Jeez.
So obviously the ruck is going to have a little bit more time. It's slower paced. This is something that we're formulating, putting together. I want to start preparing you for it. If it doesn't look like it's going to happen, like we don't get the permitting that we need, then we'll move over to another event. There's plenty of them around.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to see you prepare for this and we'll even start to do parts of the route by next summer. So we're going to try to launch this towards the end of September right now, like this time frame with the colors
Next year.
So 1 year to get ready for a 36 miler.
I got that. I could do it next week. I mean, I don't know about to finish, but I'm down.
This one, like, it would be impressive to see someone just go out next week and do it. Let's just say it that way. I did this route, a very similar part of this route. It came out to 15,000 feet of vert. This was 3 years ago. I did it for like a fundraiser for an individual, a young lady that I was raising money for. And I did it 2 times a day for 10 days straight.
It's part of the fundraiser.
As a fundraiser, and I covered just over 250,000 feet of vert.
When you look at you're doing retreats, we're doing a Wolf 21 wellness retreat. Wolf 21 is a CBD company I own. I took 2 of these tactical response gummies. That's CBG. Pretty good for energy, and they taste amazing. But the Wolf 21 wellness retreat, I just got back from Jack Osborne's, and a lot of people are doing retreats. We're doing the men's and women's retreat, but the focus on ours is tactics, protocols, and just habits that you can ingrain via the experts. I have Tommy and Sky, who specialize in breath work. Very impactful. Some of it comes from 9D is the name of the program. Some Wim Hof stuff. But you're the expert in physical fitness and endurance. What do you tell somebody who's looking at, like, potentially doesn't have a base at all? I mean, potentially is morbidly obese and trying to get their crap together. What's the start point for somebody like that, and advice for how they're supposed to move forward? I mean, I almost am in the same boat. I'm borderline morbidly obese, but I'm like the guy who's starting over.
Yeah.
What's the start point on tactics and tips to get back into it?
The first thing is, like, and people come to me at different levels, and I even look at you as a different level because where you've been before.
Yeah.
You have a past. You have a level of mental toughness, grit, because you have experience in the past. There's a lot of people that have never been there. And that's like a double whammy. And so if
mentally and physically,
and I would have to say, and I would even say, I wouldn't count high school. Yeah,
PE doesn't count.
No, like anybody coming out of even football. I mean, like we were talking about, like people getting ready for selections. I'll get a ton of people. I mean, I've had a couple people that played college football, and I'm like, and they look like linemen. They look like, I mean, they walk through the door and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this guy could be great at special forces or something, But the fact is he has a lot of power, but no endurance. And he's after like 90 seconds, he's done. And in football, it's like the play's only like 15 to 30, 15 seconds long unless they're running the entire length of the field. It's done, and then they get their rest. So like that mental is so important. You've pushed yourself all day. I think probably the best people that would go into special forces is a farmer that's gone out and worked from sun up to sundown. That's the person that's going to not quit, And so from a mental aspect, so if a person that's listening that's like has that desire to get off the couch and make a change, and it happens every day. It just depends on their mindset and their attitude. First and foremost, they need to believe that it's possible. They need to believe in themselves. They need to want it so bad that nothing's going to stand in their way. And they need to prioritize and like schedule it. Starting the week, look at the week, schedule it 5 to 6 days a week and put it on the calendar, put it on their schedule. I'm either going to get up early, it's going to happen. And in the morning is the number one best time. I started work at, like when I was doing ultra marathon and had a 9 to 5, kind of a 9 to 5 job, I had to be done by 7 a.m. to get my kids off to school on the bus and then drive into Salt Lake to go to work before I did this full time. And I was up at 3 in the morning running like in the mountains and back, driving in, pulling in my driveway before 7 a.m. so that I could get my kids down to the bus. That's what I had to do. That was the only way I could get in, because I knew if I waited till after work, everything compounds and there's other things.
Make excuses.
There's so much that happens. And I've even learned to the point I don't even pick up my phone and look at my emails until I get my workout done. When I'm at the gym, I don't know if you've ever seen it. My phone is put away. It is put away, because if I look at it, I'm going to get distracted. Something's going to happen. It can wait. 99.9% of the time to wait. So those individuals, if they have to schedule it, they got to believe in themselves, believe in their goal, want it so bad, then leave your ego at the door again. Just start walking. I mean, if you're that far out of shape, I would try to strive for, start off by like 30 minutes a day walking. Bring it up to 45, like every week, go up 10 minutes until you get to an hour of activity. That's like, if everybody could just do an hour of activity a day, America would be in a totally different.
Yeah, it curbed 90% of the problems.
It curbed 9% of the problems.
Yeah.
Because one of the things it's going to do is it's going to be that first 60 minutes of activity. Then you're going to get to a point where you're like, either I can add more time or I can add more effort. Like increase your effort. So first it's like walking for an hour. Then maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to run 15 minutes and walk 45. And then before you know it, I'm going to run 30 and walk 30. Then before you know it, run 45 and walk 15. And you don't have to walk 15. You could go run 3 minutes, walk 2, run 3 minutes, walk 2. Just get your body
adapted
to movement. Because if you go into the gym and just hit it hard, like if you were to do one of my advanced workouts right out the door, you'd be broken and you'd never want to come back. It's
progression.
You gotta increase in a progression. If I threw you to the wolves right away, that's not fun. And that's like, it's like almost like you don't even have any wins, because you're going to feel completely destroyed. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to walk away and quit. Small wins. Win the day here and there. And then you decide, hey, I can handle this no problem. I'm going to level up. And whatever that looks like, a little bit of increase. Once we're activity of an hour a day, then maybe it's a gym 2 days a week and outside 4 days a week, whatever it may be. One of the best programs out there I could just encourage somebody to do would be the 90 hard. 75 hard.
Yeah.
You're doing 2 workouts a day. What that makes you do is it makes you like, and then one has to be outside. The cortisol, from the sunlight, then the fresh air. I mean, I forget his name. Andy
Frisella.
Yeah, Andy Frisella. Genius. It's a genius in reading. You're not just helping your you're not just helping like your physical state, you're helping your mental state.
Mm.
What it is you're reprogramming your brain. That's the thing. Like so many people are stuck to their phones or stuck to TV or watching the internet all the time, and it's like they need to be outside. There's a real energy outside.
Mm.
There's something pure about that. Our bodies need that. We need nature. We need sunlight, and then we need our heart rate to get above zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. Like when we talk about intervals, there's chemically your body needs to push. It needs to work. I believe that's why farmers live so freaking long. And they can pick up hay bales and throw them on, and they like you see these old guys like 60, 70 years old they hang in there until like then they just like die,
Yeah.
at the end. But they're not like wasting away slowly like this slow death kind of a thing. They're like I had my Uncle Tom, like, or he worked, and he was the hardest working guy I ever saw, and he was always moving and doing stuff, and he worked on a farm, and he had cows and stuff like that. And even my dad, he was 27 years in the military. He force recon, and he went into the reserves, had a full-time job. He come home, work until the sun goes down. I mean, he had expectations for us. He'd give us work assignments. And he'd always tell me, the most important thing I could ever teach you is how to work. Like, I really don't
Interesting.
care about your college education. I don't
Yeah.
really care. You will go farther in life knowing how to put in an honest day's worth of work and being creative and figuring out how to do something a better way and outwork the person next to you. Outwork the person next to you.
Mm. When you look at all the things that you do to be successful in a ultra marathon, what are some of the things that physically or literally make you successful? Pieces of gear, nutrition. What are like the top 3, 5 things that are going to make you successful outside of obviously your training up for the event? Is it a watch? Is it a headlamp?
Oh man.
Is it a food protocol? It's probably all those.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, people think that ultra marathon is a new thing. It ain't. It's been around since the beginning of time. I mean, from the beginning of time. And they didn't have GPS watches. They didn't have, these amazing hydration packs. You don't need the best of the stuff. I mean, you got people down in Mexico, the Tarmahar, that are running with freaking tires strapped to their feet. So you don't need the best foot gear. You don't need, don't leave those things as excuses.
Mm.
But what you're saying is like outside of training, because I would be like the first and foremost, most important thing is put in the preparation.
Mm-hmm.
The preparation is key.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. But so within ultramarathon, it's a very uncomfortable sport. Endurance is very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be uncomfortable no matter where you're on the front or you're on the back. What we're trying to do is, from experience, is reduce the level of discomfort.
Mm.
Let's reduce it. So, because when you get blisters on your feet, that sucks. That hurts. I've had a person that did not use the like good socks or good we put what we call it like glide or like lube on our feet so that we don't get blisters and stuff like that. I supported a gentleman that he was brand new to this. I didn't know what he knew, what he didn't. He paid me to show up to support him. At the end, when we were taking off, I was asking him when I was pacing him, and he's like, I think I might be getting a blister. I'm like, do you want to take a look at it? He's like, no, I'm going to just keep going, because we were pushing the cutoff times.
Always stop and
And
just take the 2
and
minutes.
I'm like, well, and we didn't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, if we find something serious, I don't even know if we're going to have time to address it.
Mm.
We're really pushing. But are you at a point that, is it bothering you that bad? He's like, no, I just feel it a little bit. We took off his shoes. afterwards, and when he pulled his sock off, the bottom of his foot, the skin on his foot came with it. Completely raw, like the 1 or 2 layers of skin.
Ooh. So his whole foot was a
Yeah,
blister.
we had to take him to the ER the next day to see if he was going to have skin
Infection.
grafts, kind of a
Ooh.
thing. But luckily, they just really wrapped up. Anyways, I mean, I got stories galore, kind of a thing. But we want to reduce so I would have to say feet is probably your number one thing, keeping the feet well. Shoes that fit your feet. Everybody asks me, I wear Ultras. Ultras changed my life. But that doesn't mean Ultra is the only shoe out there that's for everybody. I know you're wearing Ultras right now and stuff like that. People come to me and they go, "What's the best shoe?" I'm like, "The one that fits your foot." Everybody has a different foot, like the way it's shaped and
Yeah.
everything.
Like Solomon's are too narrow,
Yeah,
but Ultras
oh
are
yeah.
wide enough.
And then some people have a high arch. Some people need a little bit more support. Some people like they call the drop. Like Ultra is a 0 drop from the front to the back. It's the same level. Whereas Solomon or the vast majority of companies have a little bit of cushion in the back.
So a
So
higher heel.
yeah, so it's like a little wedge, and that changes sometimes the body mechanics a little bit.
Mhm.
And so, but that's not that it's bad for one person, but it might be detrimental for another.
Hmm.
And so dialing in the footwear for the shoes that fit your feet, the socks are key from a moisture wicking standpoint, because your feet are going to sweat. Your feet are going to go through, whether it's mud or a river. You might have to cross a river. They're going to get wet. Cotton, not good. Poly, not good. Like most times people are looking for a blend with a merino wool. Alpaca is another brand, like fabric that's coming into play a lot, and it's anything that's moisture wicking. You even have like a Cool Max technology or Dry Max technology where it moves moisture away from the foot. And so then, socks, and then I don't put any type of lube on my feet until I'm going a certain distance, kind of a thing. And so once I start to do like anything above like a 20 miles, I'll start to put I use a brand called Happy Toes from Squirrel's Nut Butter out of Arizona. It's gold for me. And so the feet are the most important. Next thing I would have to say is obviously gear is important. Being comfortable, something that's not going to chafe you, especially in the nether regions. So finding the right base layer, shorts, what's going to work for clothing and stuff like that. So having the right gear is crucial. Coming from the military yourself, like storms, you got to know what you're up against. Look at the weather. If you live at 6,000 feet, the weather's different at 11,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you going? Where are you headed? Being prepared could be a loaded question, because totally prepared, you're not going to be able to carry the pack, from an AED machine and everything like that. It's like, but what do you need for where you are going and being prepared, and everything like that. So, but I would have to say preparation on yourself, and then preparation footwear is probably the number one thing. Number one thing. You don't need a GPS watch. You don't need, I mean, a headlamp, it'd be good to have if you're going to go into the night. Or I always carry in a very packable headlamp, just in case the unforeseen happens. Cool thing is now is like the Garmin watches. I know you've had a Garmin watch on before, but the new Garmin watches now have a light on it.
I use it to use the bathroom every night.
I actually used it, like
It's great.
I went out with a client pacing him,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that we were going to be as slow as we were, and I did a rookie mistake. I mean, I was like, I had my headlamp and I was like, nah, I don't need it because we're talking about, and I ended up pulling out I just turned on my light on my watch and I was able to run it was like 30 minutes with my watch on. So that's pretty cool. But just being prepared. There's so many hypotheticals here.
Yeah, of course.
It's a loaded question,
Yeah.
but I'd have to say footwear is probably first and foremost.
What about nutrition? Because like Carnivault, I think about my particular diets, like this is freeze dried meat. I eat mostly carnivore.
Yeah.
I try to avoid at least I'm eating cleaner.
Yep.
And if I'm using carbs, like when I start working out with you, I'll be using it for timing for fuel.
Yep.
And but I will, like if I did an 18 miler or a 20 plus miler or 40 miler, I've done a lot of carbs, almost to a detriment, like you said. Like I should have been eating pizza or some food,
Yeah.
substance. But what I was doing was like taking in glycogen gels and gel blocks, and it was just too much sugar, too much carbohydrates, and it made me feel like crap.
Well,
Do you eat like meals?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a book I read, actually in Selection, a book I read about this guy who did like ultra marathons. He was like one of the first guys to do it, but his family would bring him out pizza, and it's such a foreign idea in this health and wellness kick that you would eat pizza and run. But it's like you're getting as much calories as you can. Do you do that?
Oh yeah. So think about this. Like I use analogies a lot. I'm an analogy guy. So like think about firewood, and we're a furnace. Okay. So you have different fuel sources. So let's think about those gels or sports drinks that with sugar,
Burns
anything
fast.
sugar. It's like having a can of kerosene or a can of lighter fluid, and you're just spraying the flame, and it's like
gone.
the minute you stop, and it goes down. So is there a time and place for the gels? Yes. When your heart rate is at a higher rate, when you start to elevate your heart rate, so your effort level increases, your ability to digest decreases because your blood is being allocated to your extremities, to your cardiovascular system. The last thing you can do is throw a big pizza into your stomach and digest it effectively while moving at a higher heart rate. So if that makes sense, the lower the heart rate, now it can reallocate the blood to the stomach to then digest.
Rest and digest.
Yeah. So that's the fine balance, is if you're going to try to go fast, you're going to need something that burns easier, like gels and stuff. You need that like liquid fuel in a way. But if you're going fast, hopefully if you're going fast, you're not going fast for a long period of time because the body can't handle zones 3, 4, and 5 on a excessively long effort. You're going to burn through your glycogen no matter how fat adapted you are. You're going to go too far into a deficit because you can't take in the calories at a higher rate of speed. You're taking in those liquid calories and it's not keeping up. So it'll work up to, and it takes years of training. Some of these elite athletes are taking in like 100 plus carbs an hour of liquid calories, and they're doing 100 milers and they're getting done with them in under like 24, 20, even down into the 12-hour range, depending on the race, the terrain, and all the circumstances. But a longer distance, you're going to need something more substantial. So you got to upgrade from kerosene to like pine, burn something a little more substantial, but faster. So pine might be like a granola bar or trail mix or dried fruit, something that is a little bit more substantial. It'll burn a little bit longer, but easier. Then we move into stuff that's more like whole foods And I always like to, I mean,
Pasta,
and hear me out on this. Before we get there, I would go to like potatoes and rice.
slower burning
You want to
carbohydrates.
look at starches. Easier to digest, but slower burning. I it, I tend to strive to steer away from gluten, and because it is an inflammatory.
Mm.
If you can get something a clean gluten, the cleaner
Hmm.
the gluten is,
Gluten-free pizza crust or something like that.
yeah, and this is really loaded because it all depends on the individual and what they're used to eating. Like if you eat carnivore and never eat gluten or don't usually eat gluten,
Tear you up.
it's going to tear you up. You're going to put that in your stomach. And that's why the thing is, that's why you started, you eat so much sugar. Like you don't eat that much sugar. I always say stay away from candy. Candy is completely different than a gel or a liquid nutrition like a Martin drink mix or I'm going to use a bunch of brand names, but I don't know if all your followers, unless they're ultra runners, are even going to know what they are because they're kind of like in our our community and really don't advertise anywhere else. But you're the liquid nutrition, everything like that. So we're if you're not used to eating that stuff, it's going to cause an adverse effect on you. Let's just say
You're going to be pooping your pants.
you could be like, say if you, I mean, I only eat I try to not eat gluten, but I eat what do you call it, sourdough. So I eat sourdough once or twice a week. But yeah, it I'm in the restroom in a couple hours with that fermentation. I'm not used to it and stuff like that. And I would never want a sourdough out on a run. It's going to move things.
So train with
Yeah.
what you're used to using when you're training.
Yeah. So, but you can come day 2. I always say the body goes into ultra mode after about 24 hours.
Yeah.
Once you go into this ultra mode, like you're in a deficit, your body is like you're acclimated to the effort and to the fatigue and to the calorie deprivation and a little bit of a dehydration period. Your body kind of like optimizes itself and figures like, hey, he's not stopping, he's still going, and it can digest pretty much anything at that time. So like when I did the Bigfoot 200, I was more on a liquid and bar nutrition the first 100 miles, but come day 2 on the second 100 miles, I ate 11 cheeseburgers all in 100 miles. I mean, I was eating 2 cheeseburgers before I went to sleep, woke up an hour and a half later, ate 2 more cheeseburgers on my way out the door. Or Tahoe 200 one year, I ate an entire large pizza, but that was day 2.5, almost day 3. And you could just put that down and go off and run
And
because
some people make mistakes. They don't eat enough.
that's the thing. It's an eating contest. So many people, you'll hear if people, oh, I know someone that ran an ultra marathon and they got sick. Well, that's the number one thing. That's probably the number one reason why people quit is, one, they're not meeting their expectations, but 2, they are so uncomfortable to be throwing up and knowing that you still have, whether it's 150 miles ahead of you or even 50 miles ahead of you. It sounds like there is absolutely no way I can do this. I mean, the last time you were like sick, throwing up in the toilet with a stomach flu, can you imagine like after hurling, and once you stopped hurling, you needed to wipe your face and go out the door for a 10-mile run, knowing that you're probably going to throw up at mile 4, at mile 8, at mile 10. It doesn't sound appealing, and people will throw in the towel mentally because they are so uncomfortable. The throwing up is a combination of lack of electrolytes and also calorie deficit. They're not, once you don't get enough electrolytes and once you don't get enough calories, your stomach starts to shut down. And when that person figures out that they don't have energy, they like when they hit that low that glycemic state or the low energy state, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to eat. And it's like having a your campfire go out, and then you go throw a piece of oak on it, and it just sits there, and you got to wait for those coals to work its magic over an hour, and then all of a sudden that flame starts up. Well, if your stomach flame goes out, like it got done digesting, if it goes empty, your blood is reallocated to other parts of your body, and it's empty. Even your bile is just not even there really, and so you start to take in more food. It has to do this startup process. Well, if you keep throwing in food thinking like I need to get some energy here, all of a sudden it's like and it shuts down
Mm.
and it stops digesting, and we call it fishbowl belly. So now you're taking in your water, you're taking in electrolytes, and you're taking in fuel, but nothing's going anywhere, and it's just sloshing around like a fishbowl, just sloshing around, and it's not going to go into the intestines. It's not going to break down. It's not going to even turn into energy or anything. So now you're like sick, you're bloated, it's uncomfortable. And the only way through it is I just tell I'm like, put your finger on your tongue and throw up. You got to reset the system. You got to get that out and then start like lowering your heart rate and trickling in like bone broth, something with electrolytes, something with a little bit of calories to ignite the system, to open up the digestive process, to bring in the blood flow, and then we can start adding in a gel. Then we can start adding in like a piece of a bar and another piece. And you got to do this while you're walking, kind of a thing.
Mm.
So, I mean, there's there's so much involved with this. I mean, this is something that you just learn from experience, but people going into ultra marathon sometimes get really frustrated and really overwhelmed and feel really like the lack of the ability to do it. But what they just need to do is figure out these little things. So nutrition is huge. So our potential of running countless miles is endless. It comes down to nutrition, hydration with the electrolytes is a combination of those two, and sleep. With those like four things right there, you can go forever.
Yeah.
Like I mean, obviously if you get a stress fracture, but you manage things, your body can go.
Mm.
Like the potential is limitless.
What about hydration? Are you using a supplement or are you using salt? Like, what do you use to keep yourself hydrated? And
Yeah.
how
So
much water do you actually drink?
okay. So everybody's different.
Mhm.
Physiologically, everybody's different. This is something that individual has to figure out. So the first thing you kind of figure out is your sweat rate. I I I'm a heavy sweater. Like you would think if I had a superpower, it would be sweat. I water the grass while I run, practically. Just how my makeup. So I'm a heavy sweater. That means I have to drink more water on a regular basis. So I require more water than another person,
Mm.
or somebody else might require more water than me. So finding out what your sweat rate is and then replacing it with with that same kind of level of intake, so you're not going into a deficit just like your calories. The next thing is electrolytes are sweated out of your sweat. It comes out with your sweat. Everybody has a different sodium compound sweat rate. So your how saturated your sweat is with electrolytes varies from person to person.
Is that something you can get tested?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
this is something that I'd be encouraging you to get tested. What it is like I've been tested and I'm on the high scale. Not only am I a heavy sweater, I'm a salty sweater. So my testing came out at 1,650 milligrams of sodium per liter of sweat. So every liter of water I ingest, I have to have 1,600 milligrams of sodium slash chloride
At a
mixture.
minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum. So if I go into the night and it gets cold and my sweat decreases, I decrease my intake, but I don't change my sodium intake. See, people get really confused on this. So you figure out your ratio, sodium per liter, but the intake varies by how much you're sweating. So when it's hotter, you intake more, but the ratio stays the same. And when it's colder and you're not, sweating as much, you intake less, but still the ratio stays the same. So what we'll do with you is we'll get your sweat tested for sodium and we figure out your number, and then we figure out how much you're sweating per hour in what temperatures. So if you're got an event or you're training for something hot, you want to try to run in a hot temperature. A simple way, it's not fail proof, but a simple way is weigh yourself, go out for an hour run in that temperature at the effort, because the harder your effort, the more you sweat. The lower your effort you walk, you don't sweat as much.
Realistic effort.
Yeah. So if you're going to race a marathon, you want to be in like zones 2. So go out and do a run in zone 2. Don't take any fluids in for an hour. You can handle like an hour. Come back and weigh yourself and see how much you sweated out. So every liter weighs 2.2 pounds. So if you sweated out a liter of fluids, then you need it. And then you do the same thing like with like a 2 or a 3 hour run as you're training up. You go out and you ingest if it's let's say 1 liter an hour, you ingest 1 liter every hour for 3 hours, come back and weigh yourself and find out if you're equal or less. Did you sweat more? Then you increase and you just fine tune that. So every time you go out and run, you're analyzing some physiologies. You're testing gear, you're testing shoes, your body is basically growing and adapting and strengthening itself, but you're also gaining knowledge on physiology. And then it changes as our body composition changes. So it's something that you're always refining and fine tuning. As you get more muscle, you might sweat more. As you get less fat, you might sweat less. So it's always like it's a very slight variation, but you should always be checking to make sure where you're at. Is this overwhelming?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm used to. I've done all this. I mean, I've had to train for endurance and adventure racing and all that stuff just to be able to move long distances.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not, but I imagine for some people it could be. Well, last question. Mindset. So I have never in the military was able, unless I did it on my own, was able to like listen to audiobooks or music or podcast. And a lot of people train that way, and then something potentially goes wrong, like their earbuds die or breaks down, and then they're just inside their own head.
Yeah.
And that's hard for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
You have a specific protocol that you follow even when you go to the gym. Is that the same protocol you follow when you go and do a race? And then what are you thinking about when you're doing that? Like, what's your tactic?
Yeah. So this is a real interesting question. And because as a coach, I've gotten to learn other people's mentality. But as an individual, I'm stuck in my own head. And so I know me. So everybody could be a little different. But when it comes down to it, I've watched it hand over time. The person that's always got a headphone in their ear listening to music. Music is a powerful thing. Music, beat, frequency is a powerful thing. But if it's a tool, and if you're always relying on that tool and those headphones go out and then all of a sudden you're stuck in your head and this is foreign territory, you're screwed. So this is just something I am comfortable with myself. Like like, I don't know how to even explain it. Like, I don't listen to headphones at the gym 95% of the time. I listen to them when I'm doing a workout called a Tabata because it has a timer. And so I got the earplugs in my ear so I could hear the timer tell me when it's exercise or when it's rest, when it's coming, like, and everything like that. So I'll put a little bit of music on just because I have them in my ear already. Um, and it helps me focus and dial in. When I'm running, I never have music on. And in fact, I would say music is a rookie thing, and most veteran runners kind of get irritated when they come across a runner with earphones. I think it's actually like I mean, I am very, I guess, patient with, because everybody's in a different phase of their progression in outdoor running, and not everybody knows the code of ethics or like
The
the
culture.
culture. Like, hey, uphill has the right of way. If you're if you're on a single track coming downhill and you're coming downhill, you don't go, hey, move out of the way or something like that. Uphill has the right of way. Now, if the uphill guy wants to break because he wants a rest because he's working hard and he's like, great, I can pull over and grab a breather while this guy goes by. That's up to that person. But you know, so from a headphone standpoint, when you come up behind somebody and you're like, hey, can I get by you?
They can't hear
And they
you.
can't even hear you. And like, and you're like, and especially as a male coming up on it, maybe a female, and you're like, that there's like, you don't want to scare them. And you're just like, hey, like, it's sometimes their headphones are so loud they cannot hear you. And if you go out and just touch their shoulder, oh my gosh, like you're just trying to like, I'll like run out in the brush around them, but you might be on the edge of a drop or something. Like, it's almost like impossible to do. And you're like, hey, excuse me, how is that person even going to know if there's even a mountain lion coming up behind them, or a biker coming down the trail? Maybe it's a shared trail, or a horse, or a dog. Like, there's so many things. So keep one ear bedded. At least if you have to have the music, keep running. Back to your mental. Just get used to being in your head. Get used to being in your
What are
head.
you thinking about?
I'm solving all the world's problems.
Just going through a loop.
I'm there's a magic thing that happens during running. You got a level of serotonin being dumped out in your system, a dopamine. You'll hear about, people call it the runner's high. Um, People call it the zone. You're in the zone, and it's a meditated state, just like someone doing breathing work, meditation state. If you can hit when you're in the flow, like the running flow is like the breathing's on par, the heart rate's on par, everything is in sync, and all of a sudden the mind opens up, and I do my deepest. I think about my day. I think about my goals. I think about my clients and issues that they might be having and how to solve them. My mind is so consumed with what I'm doing in my own life, my family, my kids, my wife. I'm I'm creating new ventures or business opportunities. I'm having conversations with people. If I'm about to go speak at a retreat, what am I going to be talking about? What do I want to focus on? What do I want to highlight? What stories do I want to tell? Like, what is going to be like, I'm always brainstorming and coming up with new ideas or creative. I have so much on my mind. I don't know how people listen, like, to tune out those thoughts through some beat or music. When I'm doing my ultra marathons, I save my music for the nighttime to keep from an alert, like a awakeness. I don't put headphones in. I put my phone in my front pack upside down with the speaker faced up, and I put on speaker, and I just loud enough so I can hear the beat, hear the music, but I can still hear the ambiance. And I love the sound of my feet hitting the ground, whether it's on like rock slate or on leaves, anything. It's a soothing and relaxing thing for me. And then the second night, you'll laugh, but attitude is everything. Keeping a positive attitude is so important. Like I can go into a huge mindset of positive. Having a positive attitude will is the most successful people in this sport are positive people. If you're a negative mindset, if you're always going down a negative rabbit hole, this is not sport for you. Like you got to learn how to override that and reprogram your brain, because it actually brings in physical energy to you, or pulls out physical energy. If you start to think negative thoughts like, oh, why am I doing this? Oh, this sucks. This hurts. I'm like, oh, like just negative, 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 negative. You're done. You're broke. You're not going to finish. And so that positive mindset. So training the brain to be positive throughout your training, and not relying on those tools, and using those tools when you actually need them, or when it's actually, and supplement just for a time being while at night, or and stuff like that. So but from a mindset standpoint, like you brought up mindset, and I'll be honest with you. Endurance is 75% mindset, 25% physical. I mean, maybe even more, maybe less. I don't, it's where I'm just trying to use an example is your physical fitness is going to dictate how your pace. It's going to dictate your speed. Your mental is going to dictate whether you're going to show up and start, because that takes courage, that takes believing in yourself. It's going to dictate if you're going to continue to go when you start to run into issues, because you're going to run into issues. Whether it's 30 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, or 200 miles, you're going to work through issues.
Mm-hmm.
And working through those issues depends on the preparation and being prepared for those issues to offset them. And then also, if it's a new issue that you've never experienced, it's okay. I got this. We'll figure it out. If you can have that positive, I know I can figure this out. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in your goal, it's your why or your purpose for even doing this event is your driving force. It's and you need to figure that out along the way in your preparation, in your training, what's getting you up every day, just like yourself, like putting a goal, say like this 60K challenge is like, hey, there's, next year I'm going to stand on that starting line, and it's going to be up to me to be prepared for it, and so that's going to get you up when the sun's not up. It's going to make you go to the gym. It's going to, it's that driving force. Your why is your driving force. Why do you want this? Why are you putting yourself through this? Why do this hard thing when you can just hit the easy button and sleep in, eat, Pop-Tarts and Eggo waffles in the morning because that makes your taste buds taste good, and sit and watch TV, or, be lazy. I mean, just what it is, easy button in a way that's a different hard, because you got to like look at that evolving. It doesn't give you any self-confidence. It doesn't give you any worth. Like, I really think this is my little soapbox. The mental health issue in the world today is self-worth, of being complacent and always looking for excuses to hit the easy button and not putting in work. You don't have to be an ultra marathoner. You don't have to be a gym goer, but one is like movement, that those serotonin, the dopamine, doing something, having purpose, having a goal, working towards something, always working towards something. Once you accomplish it, find something else, work towards it, figure it out, make it a goal that's hard enough that it's easy to fail at, because failure is just a step to success. It's part of, if there's not if there's not a chance of failure, it's probably not big enough. You're not stepping out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not stepping into the unknown. And people love action adventure movies because they love the person putting themselves out there. And everybody watching is wondering, could I do that?
Hmm.
I wonder if I could do that. Like, how did somebody get to that point? Like, you look at like, how does somebody get to the point of running 200 or 250 miles? How does a person get to the point of understanding all this science behind this? It's doing. It's going out there and trying and failing and refining the motions and working, and it gives substance to life.
Hmm.
It gives substance to, it gives you purpose. And that's where and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to like, I want to encourage, I don't want to down anybody, but I want to encourage people just to, if you have a dream for something, if you want something, go after it. Like you only have a limited amount of time on this earth, you know? Every day you can't have back. So did you move closer to this purpose or this dream or this goal? Are you, if you are moving towards something, it gives life meaning. It gives you purpose. It's like a reason to get up in the morning. It's makes you excited for tomorrow. If you're dreading tomorrow, find something that makes you excited for tomorrow. Give, because you will go so much farther in life and in everything and be so much happier if you're like striving to accomplish something
Hmm.
and go after something.
Mm. It's good advice, especially for running 200, 300 miles.
I don't think everybody should run 200, 300 miles. It's not for
It's not
everybody.
for everybody.
And it doesn't need to be. But I think something, whether it, like gardening, be the best gardener possible. Like whether it's like if even being into your kids and helping your kids achieve their goals, that's a noble thing. And I'm all advocate about finding your own thing too along with your kids, because your kids are watching you.
Hmm.
If they see mom or dad like make your goal part of the family, like, hey, mom or dad signed up for X or wants to achieve X, and it's scary. I don't know, like, and these are the steps that I think I need to do to get there. And I want you guys to be, you want them to see you work towards something. Because if they're watching you work towards something and not just punching the clock, getting up, going to work, coming home, running them around to all their errands, making dinner, and going to bed, and I'm not saying that there's nothing noble about that, but if they're never watching you like going after something, they weren't alive when you were grinding away at college or grinding away at your like low income job, working your way up the ladder to provide an income for them. Like if you lead by example, show them what's possible, you know, that you care about your health, that you care about the food that you intake, you know. It's easy to see, like, if you got parents and the child, usually the child mimics the parents, or the parent, like, kind of a thing. It's a learned behavior and stuff like that. So, like, show them, like, I was involved with scouts my entire life. My dad was force recon military. We had 4 boys. We were always going camping, going deer hunting. Um, I learned from his example. Like when I got into ultra marathon, and this might be like a dad complex or something like that, but when I used to, like, running was not easy for me. It never came natural. And that's why I loved it so much, is because I was like, I got to figure this out. I used to think, my dad went to Buds twice. He went once past when it was back in the 80s, when it was like first developed. Like he was in, and then when he went re, reserves, they made him go back through again. Like a different, like he had to go back through again to do it again because some things changed and they wanted him to go back through again. He went through it twice, passed twice, and he would tell me about some of the things they do. And so when I was out, and he went to the Iraq War, the Persian Gulf, he went to Vietnam twice, 2 different tours there. He'd give me, like, he was my hero. And so when I was out struggling during my first ultra marathon days, I was like, my dad wouldn't give up. My dad wouldn't quit. Like, obviously, he didn't quit. He kept going, you know? And I'd hear like little things in the back of my head that he said when I was a kid. And I looked up to him because I saw him go to reserves once a month. I saw him go 2 weeks out of the summer. I saw, he went for almost an entire year to the Persian Gulf, and you come back with telling stories of, they were in the wave of over, taking back Kuwait and, clearing out malls and clearing out buildings and different people, falling on grenades and saving other people in his group and stuff like that. And you hear these stories of this courage and all this stuff. This stuff resonates with you. I know not everybody has a military parent, but to see your mom, to see your dad really go after something is so inspiring. And the kids are watching. Even if they're like playing and not paying attention, they're watching, they're learning, and they will pick up those habits. And it was really like, I'm trying not to cry too at the same time because it hits home. But when I ran my first 200 miler, my kids came out towards the end. And as I got halfway through I was going to quit at just over 100 miles. And I had made the decision mentally that I was going to quit. It was the farthest I ever ran. I was proud of myself, but I didn't think I had anything else to give.
Another 100 miles.
Yeah. I come off the top of a peak at Tahoe, come all the way down to lake level, come to the aid station. I'm ready to tell my crew that it's over. And my daughter, which wasn't with my crew, they were with my parents, comes running up because they came to see me. And my daughter's like, Dad, I was looking at the race manual, the handbook, and the route, and the last section is 17 miles. I want to run that with you. Now, she was a freshman in high school. She joined the cross country team on her own. Like, I'm one of these dads that I try not to like force my kids into anything. It's because an endurance sport, if your parents are forcing you into doing an endurance sport and they don't want to be there, that is going to be miserable. So she just joined cross country. And I was like, great, that's awesome. She's like, she's been training all summer. I want to run that 17 miles with you. I'm about to quit. I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden, my why that I was talking about, my purpose, I wanted to see if I could run 200 miles. That was my why. And in fact, it was more of like, I wanted to be able to say I ran all the way around Lake Tahoe. I ran 200 miles. It was almost like an ego thing. Yes, I wanted to see how I could do it, but it was kind of like a little bit of both, like maybe from a bragging standpoint or a like feeling proud of myself standpoint. That was gone out the window. That wasn't strong enough to take me to the finish line. I was done. My daughter looking me in the face and saying, I want to share that experience with you, completely shifted my why and my purpose. I sat there almost in tears, unloaded the trash out of my pockets, reloaded nutrition, grabbed some food, and headed back out. My attitude changed. All I could think about is getting to that aid station to run that last section with my daughter. My purpose changed. I ran it was about 70, 60 miles to that section to get there faster and stronger than any part of the first 120 miles. It was nothing to do with changing shoes, different gear, nutrition. It was everything to do with the reason why I'm doing this now shifted to her. So when that became something more powerful outside of me, it was unstoppable. I had a new energy. It was a new mindset. It was a new everything. And I ran hard and I got there and I experienced that 17 miles with her. And that became a pivotal moment. That attitude and what is your driving force is ultimately stronger than any type of bragging rights or any type of anything, doing, especially doing it for someone else. And so when you're, I think it's so important. I emphasize this to parents is like, create goals and have your kids see you try to achieve them. And if you fail, see your kids, like, acknowledge it, what went wrong, refine your motions and try again. Them seeing you not walk away from your goal when you didn't succeed the first time and seeing you try again and try again, because it's going to be attainable. You just got to figure out what was the missing link, what was the weak link, and strengthening that. And that example is, leading by example is probably the most important, effective thing as a parent.
Cool, man. I'm closing out the podcast. Um, where can people find you for? I mean, we're going to put the links to your social media,
Yeah.
but how to like this? Do you even have the ability to? Because I know you got a lot of people, a lot of clients. So how does it? What's the plan for that, and how do people get a
So
hold of
the,
you?
the first thing is, if reach out through social media is the easiest way. I do have a website. It's still like in the works. It's adventureyourpotential.com.
Okay.
And then adventure.your.potential is my Instagram handle. And then Ben Light for Facebook. It'll have my logo, uh, this logo right here, Venture Your Potential logo, as the profile picture, so you know you got the right one.
Yeah, we'll link it. We'll link all
Yep.
that stuff down below.
And just send me a DM. I'm gonna ask, or in your DM, just provide your email address. I'll send you my pricing, and if I have any slots opening, or if I put you on a waiting list, detail out what your goals are. I charge $100 for a coaching call, like basically an introductory call. Um, it's an hour-long call. We talk about your goals. We talk about what you want to accomplish. This is after I send you my pricing. And then if you decide to hire me, that $100 gets applied to the package of what you decide on. So you're not out any money, but at the same time, if you decide to go a different direction, I'm not out my time as well. So
Awesome. Appreciate you, Ben.
yeah, I appreciate you. It's going to be exciting to have you work towards this. And I'm just going to be honest with you, bud. This is going to be tough.
I'm used to that. Just been having my
This is going to
ass
be tough.
pounded in for the last year and a half, so I'm not sweating it. That's the easy part. The hardest part is the mental on defining your why,
Yeah.
and I already know what that is. So it's hard for a lot of people. It's not hard for me. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm not going to suffer, but again, I've been suffering for a long time now. So this is a uphill, slight incline for me. We'll
This
get
next
back to it.
year, I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to be life changing. It's going to be
Yeah.
so, you're going to, this time next year, it's totally up to you, but total, total new Mike Glover and a whole new future.
Hope so. Hope so. I want to get into this. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks, guys.